This is the RAEV Bullet GTX E-Bike. It's a 52 volt, 1000 watt e-bike. That is the bigger, powerful Bullet from the RAEV Bullet collection with 28 amp hours of power in those two batteries. You see there's a battery up top and a battery down at the bottom. It is built for taller riders, so if you're 6 feet tall, you will be comfortable on this. Shorter guys can fit on it too, but just they've added these higher handlebars and just made it a little bit of a bigger bike than their previous bike, and also upgraded it to 1000 watts. It's got an air shock on it, dual chamber air shock there that's adjustable, like a big comfortable bench seat that's super soft and feels great on your bum. There's the 1000 watt motor and single speed drivetrain, and they are V tires, VE Huntsman tires on the back there. Here's a look at the dual batteries, one on top, one on the bottom. Some of these bikes also have an option to just have one battery. The one on top is 20 amp hours, and the one on the bottom is 8 amp hours. So to get a total of 28 from the two batteries. They are charged by Samsung cells, and the charger is UL listed. And then down here, you can see there is a bracket for foot pegs, so you can put foot pegs on it and haul a passenger. It has hydraulic disc brakes with dual pistons and 180 millimeter rotors. It says M4X on the back, and then it's RAEV branded on the front. And your shock is an X-Show shock, which is pretty good on the street. It's got adjustable damping, and it's also got a spring tension that you can adjust over there. There's a closer look at the V Huntsman tires. These are a lot more pop resistance than some of the other tires you get. They're 20 by 4.0, and you can see all that rubber there is going to grip the road real nice, give you a little bit of bumps to get through the rocks, and then also be puncture resistant. There is a taillight, stoplight LED on the back, and then a really bright LED headlight on the front. We'll test it in the dark later, and it's got a pretty basic LCD controller that really does everything you need a controller to do. It's got zero mode, which is no power, all the way to up to 1, 2, 3 different pedal assist modes. The seat is almost 34 inches high, and this is what a 6 foot tall person with a 32-inch inseam looks like riding the bike, so you can get a good idea of just what it's like to pedal. You really can pedal this thing even if you're tall. As you can see, his knees are coming up high, but it's not too high to be uncomfortable. And riding down the street on this thing is just a pleasure, with that suspension helping you out, keeping everything soft. Here's a look at the suspension in action in slow motion. So I think the rear end does a better job than the front end. Obviously, this was not designed to be jumped. We're torturing it beyond its limitations. So here's a look at using every bit of the 80 millimeters of front travel on it and maxing out the rear shock as well. You can see how hard of a hit this is and how it responds. Nothing broke, so that's good news. We did look at the shock afterwards, and you can see the grease shot out of it, and there's a big circle of grease up there. And if you read the bottom of the shock, it says, don't do anything that you just saw me do. So it's not designed for that. If you want to go off-road, I'd recommend a bigger, badder shock for it. And the frame rail was in the way, so I couldn't get my shock absorber pump onto the rear shock. It has 2 air valves on it. I was able to rectify that by using a 90-degree angle adapter and then pump it up. And I ended up taking some air out of it, both compression and rebound. So it has one air chamber for compression and another one for negative air pressure that controls your rebound. And I just set it up so it's nice and bouncy. And when I sit on it with my body weight, it goes down about 1 centimeter, which you can measure with that little rubber ring there. So you've got a little bit of sag in it, and it really rides nice on the street. Here's the brake test. So the brakes work really well. I'm really impressed with them. Low effort and quick stopping. And then this is what the brakes sound like. This is the moment you've all been waiting for. This is the Stoplight Grand Prix. So full throttle, unlocked, and no pedaling. This is what you get if you just crank the throttle open and you've already unlocked it. The manual actually tells you how to unlock it towards the end of the manual. So a lot of these e-bikes don't tell you how to do it, but this one, it's written right there in the manual. And I found that on the flat ground with full throttle, you'll get up to close to 38 miles an hour. I saw 38 once when I was driving around not filming. This one, it stops at 37.5. So that's all you're going to get out of this crybaby. And then hill climbing, we go to the end of the earth down at the bottom of this steep hill. It looks pretty steep on the video, but it's even steeper than it looks. This is where I test all my e-bikes, and some of them can barely get up this hill. So this is full throttle, no pedaling, going up the hill. And it climbs it pretty well. My bird bike actually goes less than 1 mile an hour up this hill on throttle, and you pretty much fall over. So to be able to go double-digit speeds up this hill is quite good, and it doesn't feel like it's working too hard. At some point in this video, I switch over to watts, so you can see that it's over 1,000 watts. getting pushed into the motor there. There we go. Come on, driver. There you go. So now you can see the wattage along with the speed. So top speed around 14 miles an hour up this super steep hill. And then on the other side of the hill, when we pound down the hill and give it full throttle, the top speed, I was kind of expecting it to be faster, but the top speed is right about the same. So you're getting into the 37 to close to 38 range going down a hill with full throttle as well. And then around a corner, that's a 20-mile-an-hour corner. Those tires are fantastic, and it handles great. The suspension, the forks, everything really makes it easy on you when you're going around a corner. Now, this is pedal mode 1, or throttle mode 1. So in mode 1, you can see I've got the power meter on. So this isn't really about speed limit as much as it's about watt limits, as I think is how it works, because I was able to kind of creep up to higher speeds in pedal mode 1, but you can see the wattage stays low. And then eventually, when I get tired of that, once I put it into pedal mode 2, you're going to see the watt meter increase the amount of watts that the engine's allowed to give you, or rather the battery's allowed to give the motor, whatever, the controller. And then if you put it into mode 3, then you're unlimited, and it goes up over 1,500 watts in there, and you're flying by. I find this useful if you're riding with other people on slower bikes. You can put it into 2 or put it into 1, depending on how slow their bike is. And that way you're not always getting away or irritating people. Or if you're on the bike path and you don't want to go too fast and terrorize the citizens, you can keep it in 1 or 2. And then off-road, the suspension handles this really well, as do the tires. So we're going to just give it full throttle and get up to 30 miles an hour on this dirt and rocks and stuff next to the train track. I don't have any proper dirt track, off-road places to really go off jumps and get crazy, but this is a pretty good test of, there's bumps on the ground, there's big rocks, there's unpredictable elements here, and I'm just ripping along like I'm on the pavement. So, and I'm also sitting down on the seat. I'm not standing up while I'm doing this, and my butt is being protected by the suspension and the super soft seat, which I didn't mention enough how soft that seat is. They did a great job on all their bikes with the quality of the seat. There's the suspension in action while I'm riding off-road. You can see the only terrible thing there is the front fender has come loose. Those 2 nuts under it, those are not nuts that I installed. Those came with it. They have jumped off of there, and the fenders rattling around. That was the only problem I had with pieces falling off of the bike. Now let's take a look at what it's like to pedal. That gear is giant. Like the top gear is super huge. So when you get up close to 20 miles an hour, you can see at 25 miles an hour, your legs are going pretty fast. So you can actually help it move along in the mid-20s if you want to go fast and have decent battery life and get a little bit of exercise. It's crazy legs time when you get close to 30, but you can still get some exercise and help it move along. And the lights at night are big and bright. So when the sun goes down, you are lighting up the road with that big LED light. Here we are on a dark road with it. And then if I put it in a dark place at the park and shine it at a wall, you can see the rear light is decent and people can see you, but that front light is like a motorcycle. It really lights up the world. But how far can you go on a charge? Well, now this is unlocked full throttle shenanigans going off jumps up and down hills. This is a torture test worst case scenario. So you can see the battery is at 0. I'm in level 3 at full throttle doing 9 miles an hour, and it's got 90 watts of power. So it's definitely dead. So that is 38.5 miles that I got off a full charge of both batteries, and pushing the button on the battery, you can see it is red, which means dead. Now it comes packed in a box. That's the size of the box in millimeters. If you want to know how big it is in your car or in your living room, it looks like that. And they did a great job of packing it. I didn't really do a full unboxing for this video, but I do want to show you what a great job they did of packing it up. That's what it looks like from the top. And then I like to cut the front off of bike boxes like this. And you can see everything's packed up nice. I've got to put the front wheel on, put the handlebars on, hook up a couple of wires. And then the seat is also needing to be bolted on from the bottom. But it's a pretty straightforward, simple assembly. Then you have this beautiful bike sitting in your house. So the question I guess you've got to ask yourself is, which RAEV Bullet is right for me? This is the biggest, fastest one. Do you need all this power? If you don't, you can spend $500 or $600 less and get one of the smaller bikes and be just fine. But if you want to be the king of the world, and if you want to have unlimited power, or honestly, I think even if you want to go slow, it's nice to have the quick acceleration and just the extra zip of this, even if you never unlock it or never want to go more than 20 or 25 miles an hour. So the choice is yours. There's a coupon code in the description that you can use to get $100 off this bike. Comment, like, subscribe if you like it, and This is us riding off into the sunset on our RAEV Bullet e-bikes. The RAEV Bullet GTX is a great bike. Don't have any complaints. I think for what I'm going to use it for on the street, it does everything I want to do. If I was going to go crazy off-road, I would put a better set of front forks on it. But honestly, even if you're jumping curbs, the fork is fine. It's just don't go jumping 3 stairs or flying through the air on it, and you'll be just fine riding around the street. Everything works great.